Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jeff Show. My name is Jeff. This is my show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're just joining us and you love this content, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. These things really help. If you really want to support in a way that doesn't involve spending your own precious shekels, I know life is tough out there, but you really want to help out and support, just let the ads play on this video. If you got other stuff, if you're doing something in the background, just let the ad play. Let the ad play out. That helps me in a big, bad way. So thank you for that. Normally, I've gotten to the habit of prepping the video before I put it out, and it doesn't seem to be showing up, which is really annoying. So I guess this is kind of like an inconsistent practice that I was really hoping to use to step my game up so that I could be fully present when presenting this content. I have a guest waiting right now, and you may know the guest. Oh, you may know this guest. Oh, it's from here. Jesus, that's really annoying. You may know this guest. What? Why can I still hear myself? I don't want to hear myself. There we go. No. Jesus. How annoying is that? Why is that happening? Here. That's what I was talking about. The book cam. We got the book cam. Okay, so here we are again, and we're finishing up the book, A Complete History of the Return of the Living Dead, and there is an annoying echo in the background. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it, and it's really bothering me. There's nothing I can really do about it. I don't really care who sees the stream, because this is the worst part of the book, in my opinion, because it's covering two movies that I think are truly abominations. But at the same time, I'm also a completionist, and my need to be a completionist sort of trumps my need to skip over something that I think is kind of heinous. So here we are. We're doing it. Can you see the stream? Is the stream here? I feel like it's not working. What's going on? Let me see something real quick. It's just not showing up on my YouTube channel. I usually don't check, but I'm checking right now because this is annoying. No, I don't see it. What in the cuss is going on here? I don't know. Let's just go through it. Let's power through anyway. So here's this super duper ridiculous, annoying Return of the Living Dead, Necropolis, and Raised from the Grave. Now, I said in the last episode, this looks like it was photoshopped by some fan making up their two sequels to the film. They were shot back to back in the former Soviet Union. Okay. The co-writer was William Butler. He was in Jason movies. He was also he played the Tommy in the remake of Night of the Living Dead. So he's an actor as well. And yeah, I mean, you're seeing the rise of zombies in popularity again right before these films come out. They were shot back to back. They came out on the Sci-Fi Channel. You have Shaun of the Dead comes out. You got 28 Days Later, and you got the Dawn of the Dead remake. So they're looking to capitalize on the new zombie wave. William Butler says, I've been making films since I was in the 6th grade. I made about 30 or so when I was a kid. There's William Butler sort of, qualifying himself for why he is, good for this sort of thing, why he would be good to do this in the first place. Wow, it's really annoying to hear the sound. I don't want to hear the sound. What happens if I mute everything? I can still hear it. Why can I still hear it? I just put everything on mute. Super annoying. Dude. Okay, whatever. I gotta power through this. This is not the most pleasant episode for me to do. Okay. What's up, Brew? We're talking about the worst of the worst here. Now, for all of the 90s, really, or for much of the 90s, later 90s, I should say, after 95, maybe, there was always talk. There had been talk of Return of the Living Dead, Necropolis for some time. And, there was a synopsis on IMDb. They were talking about, how a dude who has to go in and rescue his friend from the living dead, from being a zombie or something. And then we had this title, Rave to the Grave, and that's all we ever knew, So there had been talk, and it was highly anticipated. And finally, it came out on the Sci-Fi Channel, and they shot in Chernobyl, is what I meant to say, not Soviet Union. They actually shot in Chernobyl, which is like super radioactive. Here's a picture of a zombie. I don't even remember. Do you know I've only seen these movies each one time? I've never rewatched them. I bought them as a DVD double disc set. And I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. There was like $3 in the discount bin. I checked it out. I mean, that's a pretty cool looking zombie. And Aaron Stragogi says, we felt blessed and elated to be part of this franchise and worked our asses off. There was no hesitation, just excitement. Bullish. There's Peter Coyote. He plays like this evil uncle dude. Uncle Charlie. One of Uncle Charlie's trioxin experiments in Return of the Living Dead, Necropolis. I do remember kids' parents get turned into the bio unit. So they actually did kind of follow Return of the Living Dead 3. They followed the bio units. They're turning the trioxin zombies into mechanical warlords and or mechanical soldiers. The exoskeletons hooked up to meat batteries. That actually goes down and happens. But yeah, it just did not work very well. I just really don't know what to say. There you go. That's the father. And this is like the iconic look of the zombie. And it looks kind of more like one of the Star Trek Borg sort of things. It's gross, man. I mean, this is cool. Probably the coolest part is this machine gun cannon arm. I think that's pretty sweet. It's not a bad concept. As a matter of fact, I would have loved to have seen Brian Yuzna continue with it. It was a very interesting element that Brian Yuzna and John Penny had introduced with Return of the Living Dead Part 3. I think I forgot to mention that. See, now in this film, which is so stupid, you shoot them in the head and they die. You get the brain, you get the ghoul, which completely goes back to the Romero way of doing things and makes them a lot less terrifying. I don't know. It was a real bummer. I believe that this real tongue-in-cheek, campy kind of fun will appeal to all generations and will drive viewers to see and enjoy these pictures. That was one of the producers. And what's funny is there was an eBay auction for the rights to these two films for $50,000. You could own the rights to these two films. I don't know if anybody ever bought them. I mean, ridiculous, just ridiculous. I mean, you can't, the effects look okay, at least in this picture, I guess. William Butler says, I haven't even begun to tell you all the things that happened to those screenplays. So William Butler had written screenplays that had gotten rewritten and destroyed. I'm not going to read through I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but something like that had gone down. William Butler says, disappointed, can't even begin to describe what I was feeling. I went from being on cloud nine to wanting to hang myself because it was a massive deal for Aaron and I. Yeah, they just got hosed. I don't even remember why. Like I said, I should really reread this book now. Kind of curious to see if I remember. Yeah, there was this weird, I remember that thing. That was like a weird experiment, trioxin experiment, right? I mean, they just jumped the shark with everything. There's your Tarman. That was the Tarman in Rave to the Grave. They didn't even have a Tarman in Part 4. But here's the Tarman returning. Not the worst looking Tarman. I mean, he should be a little bit goopier and slimier, I suppose. Aaron Stragoni says, Billy is old school and a true fan. He knows what the audience wants. I'm sure he tried to give the producers his 2 cents, and they probably rebuked with a figurative extended middle finger. I don't know. This is the director, Ellery Elkayem, checking the script on the Hybratech set. So this was a set that they snuck onto. They were to rescue their friend who is been turned into a zombie or whatever. The director says, you don't always have control over everything you might like to. I mean, this is just a disaster, dude. So sad. William Butler says, I think Ellery was a fan of the franchise, but I don't think he understood how important it was to keep the series mythos. So I guess, and again, like I said, I haven't read this in super long time, but I guess what happened was William Butler had written some original screenplays. I'd love to see them, I guess. Had written some screenplays that were more keeping in touch with the series mythology, and that got hacked to bits, and we got what we got, and very little of that made it onto the screen. And that's how you get zombies that get shot in the head, which is probably the biggest departure from anything else. That's not a bad looking zombie right there. Look how quick we're just breezing through the rest of this book, or at least through this section. There was a great storyline about Julian and his deceased parents facing them at the end of the movie. It's heartbreaking to think about. Right, that's what happened. He finds out his parents are dead and that they've been turned into mech zombies, and he faces off against them. I mean, whatever, dude. I'm not going to say... Oh, there's some titties right there. I'm not going to say we didn't make a nice payday in selling those scripts, but my biggest regret was selling them to the people that we did, plain and simple, because that's what happened. They turned it into what it was. I think that's the kid. Yeah, this is Zeke. This is Zeke and in Necropolis. Like his predecessors, James, Karen, and Tom Matthews, Dandel slowly transforms into one of the undead. See, I don't even remember that. They were so unremarkable, unrememberable. It was just a bummer, man. It was a bummer. The best thing going for it is, as Rue says, the ghouls looked okay. I guess some of them, not all of them. That was the best thing. Billy and Aaron are both big fans of the original movies. I'm not sure the producers even saw the original movies. Yeah, probably not. And then they got this guy, Pete Coyote. He was a veteran character actor who played Uncle Charles, and he's in both films. He was from E.T. He's originally from E.T., but he was in both movies, Rave to the Grave and Necropolis. I mean, they're great titles. I like the titles. Like Rave to the Grave kind of captures my imagination, and even the plot is kind of interesting. Like it could be kind of, good. The secondary plot of Rave to the Grave is where they begin dealing like drugs that are based on trioxin, and that turns into people having like near-death experiences, but slowly they turn into the people that take the drugs turn into zombies. So yeah, I don't know. William Butler says, I wanted Don Calfa to be the lead. So how about that? I wanted him to be in search of the last trioxin canister. That would have been interesting. I wanted the entire original cast to make cameos at the very least. Unfortunately, those ideas never got that far due to constant script changes. And you know what's sad is that totally would have happened too. Those guys totally would have come back. We totally would have seen that. See, those zombies look pretty good right there. Let's keep going. So this is from Rave to the Grave. Thinking about it makes my stomach turn. I agree. I really was not looking forward to finishing this. And here we're going to censor this shot, unfortunately. It's a beautiful shot. This was also, the ending kind of took place at this weird Coliseum place where I guess they held the rave. And, you got the Tarman walking around. I like the idea of the last trioxin barrel, wandering around. Look, there you go. There he is. There's the Tarman. Not bad, considering a made-for-TV Tarman. He works. I like him better than the Return of the Living Dead 2 Tarman. I thought the screenplays were, in a sense, going back to the 80s style film and horror genre. That's Mike Messamere. I don't know who the hell that is. There they are. They're filming a scene in Rave to the Grave, or Rave from the Grave. There's some actors and actresses. I have met some actors and actresses who I would like to forget they were in. I have met some actors whom would like to forget that they were ever in a movie in the genre. Yeah, I can believe that. There's a zombie. I mean, the coolest thing about this series, and what really, I think the hook of the Return of the Living Dead series is not just the dead coming back to life, but it's also it's also the concept of starting off the movie as a living person and slowly transforming into a dead person. These stills are terrible, man. Like, they don't show anything. The script is campy and my role is pretty thankless. However, I was excited to be working with zombies. That's Jenny Mullen. I don't even know who that is. Like I said, I've seen this movie once. Look how fast we're going over this stuff. Too many maybes. They managed to finish the movie without anyone noticing anything negative due to the changes that had been made. Whatever. I'm so over this. That's a pretty good looking zombie. Hard to believe that these things are 15 years old now, right? There's a zombie. Think about all the attention and detail that went into, the first couple of chapters of this book, and now that's the mom. That's the mom. She's a zombie bioweapon designed by the special effects team, Optic Nerve Inc. Huh. And there's that Tarman again. I really should just revisit them once, just to hate watch them, right? Shouldn't I hate watch these? Maybe I will. Give it a good hate watch, just so they can be fresh in my mind. I mean, just seeing these stills of this Tarman makes me kind of want to revisit out of morbid curiosity, even though I know it's terrible, right? May not have returned, blah, blah, blah. Didn't stop the Tarman from making cameo appearance. Yeah, whatever, dude. I was a big fan of the original Return of the Living Dead and watched it many times growing up, so it was really cool in that regard to play a part in its legacy, however small. You played no part in the legacy, I am sorry to say. There he is. There's the Tarman. Our U.S. zombie team was phenomenal. That was money well spent. Yeah, I mean, that Tarman, if that's the Tarman in the 5th Return of the Living Dead film, I'm pretty satisfied. I'm going, okay, that works, Rue, can you hear me? Because my echo stopped. I don't know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can't hear me. So yeah, there's that. I don't remember that guy. That guy is to infiltrate the rave on campus. The Russian agents disguise themselves in fancy dress. I have no memory of that plot. Look at these posters. Absolutely atrocious. I mean, so unbelievably atrocious right there. Ugh. Barf in my mouth. So I think we've made it to the retrospective. That's the end of that, right? William Butler says, I think someone will come along. Never seen this one. Looks like a good life. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you, Rue. Appreciate you. I think someone will come along and give it a kick in the pants. I know that Nancy, Tom's wife, has been wanting to do a remake for a while, but the rights go back and forth between her and Warner Brothers. She's talking about Nancy Fox, who's Tom Fox's wife, who owns the rights. Tom Fox was the owner of the original Return of the Living Dead, as he had brought in the rights to that. So let's see what this is. Who did the layout job on this? I mean, do it in white type. Why would you do it in dark type like that? Jesus. I was and am still surprised at the outcome. Tom Matthews. There you got Frank and Freddie looking at what's happened. I love how the sweat really sells the glisten on Tom Matthews' arms. I mean, this really sells the atmosphere, the hot, sticky summer, the nervousness, that sort of thing. That's a good question. So this is just retrospective stuff. J.R. Bookwater, who did The Dead Next Door, he's spoken. Let's see what he says. I fondly remember the summer of 1985. I had just quit my second year at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh and came back home to live with my parents while I figured out what I was going to do with my life. That summer, there were not one but two big zombie movies in the theater. Romero's trilogy capping Day of the Dead and Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead, which I might have been faithfully following in the pages of Fangoria magazine. While Day was more highly anticipated, I had played hooky for a day to be a zombie extra. That's so cool. It turned out that Return would be the movie that would ultimately wind up being more satisfying. Bert, I thought you said if we destroyed the brain, it'd die. Frank, it worked in the movie. Bert, well, it ain't working now, Frank. Freddy, you mean the movie lied? Like, what dialogue? So snappy and sharp. Oh, look, there's Nathan Hanman. I saw him at the Misfit show at MSG. I did an interview with him a while back. That's the dude from Horror Hound. Cool guy. I'm not going to. So this is just everybody talking about Return of Living Dead. And as you can see, the various sort of people that were influenced. There's Tom Matthews, who really embraces his legacy as Freddy. And you know what? I'm going to see if I could try and get that dude on here. I really should. I don't think he is very hard to get a hold of. I'm going to try. I am going to try. Tom Matthews with the Return of Living Dead Freddy Living Dead doll. Who's this? Who's this up here? This is Send More. Oh, right. Yes, I've heard of this band. So this is a horror punk band called Send More Paramedics. And you know who's in this? I think Jason Trioxin is mentioned in this book. I know he's in the other book, but I think he's mentioned in this book as well. Jason Trioxin is the anniversary of his 2-year anniversary of his death. Rest in peace, Jason Trioxin. We're talking about Return of the Living Dead. I'm sure he would appreciate that. And there is Blade, Zombie Blade from Dawn of the Dead, which I'm revisiting right now. I'm going through that box set. That'll be something we talk about in the future for sure. We're going to have a whole thing about Dawn of the Dead. And then here is the brilliant, remember we were talking about the ingenuity of not having to rent an actual helicopter. Look, you put the camera in the glass bowl. You put Dan O'Bannon's voice on the loudspeaker. You lower the crane with the rainmaker going, and boom, you have from a POV. You suddenly have the thing. When you make a POV, you can create anything with a POV shot. Basically, it's a pretty cool idea to think about. Think about that. When you go from the point of view of said thing, it can be anything. That's how the evil in the Evil Dead works, right? It's a POV shot. We never actually see what the evil is in the Evil Dead. And that's due to the ingenuity. And then over the years, these guys get together for, conventions and Q&As and all sorts of jazz. There's Ryan Nicholson. He's an underground filmmaker. He passed away as well. Here's Don Calfa, also no longer with us. Man, a lot of people. We need some trioxin for a lot of people. And there is the glorious Clue, who is still kicking. He was just in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And there he is at the New Beverly Cinema, currently owned by Quentin Tarantino. And, God bless Clue. He just turned 92. He's the same age as my Nana. And God bless you, Clue. I hope you have as many years as are afforded to you. And I wish that I could take your acting class. There's James Cairn. I mean, this man should be cherished for the rest of his life, man. Just a treasure. And it's a crime that he's not doing more work. He should be working even more. He loves to work. Look at that hair too, man. What a great guy. God, I love that guy. Clue Gallagher, man. Gulager. There's the man. There's Dan O'Bannon with his crazy. So check this out. He doesn't have a beard in the sense of a beard. He has a mustache. He has, I guess, what do you call it? He's a cum catcher. And then he has a full-on neck beard. Isn't that weird to think? While he loved something, he exuded an aura. When he loved something, he exuded an aura of almost childlike glee. I was drawn to him right away. That's William Stout. And then these are all the various things that Dan O'Bannon was responsible for. That's right. He did write Total Recall, or he had a helping hand in writing Total Recall. He wrote Alien. He directed one of the segments in Heavy Metal. And he starred in what's it called? Dark Star. Some of the stuff he did. There's a still from Dark Star right there. I still have never seen this film. I really need to. That's a cool looking set, though, huh? Here are some stories about Dan O'Bannon. Should we look at those super quick? Let's look at these. Here, I'm going to put his picture while I read the stories. Ready? Dan O'Bannon, tale number 1. Dan was absolutely fastidious in regards to climate control. He was constantly messing with and breaking the thermostats in the Burbank warehouse where we were shooting Return of the Living Dead interiors. His climate concerns were not limited to the set. They carried over into his home life, too. One day, he got into a conversation with a fellow who was fixing his air conditioning. He quickly discovered that the repair guy was my Uncle Buddy. Small world, ain't it? My uncle has always done excellent work. He knows his stuff when it comes to heating and cooling systems. Dan picked up on that right away. Hence, whenever it went on the fritz, the O'Bannon household, uh, which was often due to Dan's own attempts to fix or adjust things, called the air conditioning repair company, always demanding that Billy's uncle be sent out. Dan couldn't remember my uncle's name. After a bit of head scratching and asking around, the repair company figured out who Billy's uncle was. Dan called them so much that after the first couple of phone calls, they knew exactly whom Dan wanted. My uncle loved working at Dan's home. He was tickled by Dan and his eccentricities. I think that's what he was, man. He was a super eccentric kind of guy. Here's Dan O'Bannon's tale number 2. Dan's tales often emanated from his own intense neuroses. He's like a much crazier, more unhinged version of Larry David, right? O'Bannon was probably the most paranoid guy I ever met. He tapped that paranoia as a writer, creating classic scripts for Alien and Blue Thunder. While making The Return of the Living Dead, I was in the process of buying a house with the Conan the Destroyer money I had squirreled away while living on my per diem down in Mexico City. But it's not saying who these tales are from. It's like they are they're anonymous tales. O'Bannon was a meticulous researcher. He loved to investigate every aspect of anything, which is why 2,4,5-trioxin is a real thing that comes from it's a real chemical, and that came from O'Bannon's research. He loved to investigate every aspect of anything that held his interest. Buying a home was certainly no extension. On our hair-raising drives together to scout locations where Dan always missed our freeway exits, Dan gave me the benefit of all the house research he had recently done. After a thorough investigation of every detail of a home, sorry, I'm suck at reading this. After a thorough investigation of every detail of home construction, Dan had determined that the absolute best structure to own was a Spanish adobe-style home. He told me, though, that Spanish adobes had one drawback. The walls aren't machine gun proof. At enormous expense, after purchasing his very expensive Santa Monica Spanish adobe abode, O'Bannon had the house's interior walls removed. He then had steel plates inserted before replacing the walls. Now they were machine gun proof, problem solved. So this dude machine gun proofed his house. I remember that from when I first read this book. O'Bannon tale number 3. Dan loved comics. He wrote 2 segments of the heavy metal film. I forgot that he wrote 2. Before he passed away, he had enthusiastically agreed to draw a whole series of comics. I had enthusiastically agreed to draw a whole series of comics with him. We were both very excited at the thought of collaborating again. I had read so much of Dan's work and knew him so well that I was convinced we were going to produce great things together and make a bit of history in the world of comic art. In my sizable comic collection, I own and was aware of an O'Bannon story that had become one of the most influential comic book stories ever published. No, it didn't do a lot of influence. It didn't do a lot to influence other comics, but it changed motion pictures forever. The story was called The Long Tomorrow. It was illustrated by Dan's friend, Jean Girard, better known to comic book fans as Mobius. I believe it originally appeared in the French comic magazine Metal Hurlant and was reprinted stateside in book collections that were made of Mobius's work. Hunt it down. The entire look, ambience, feel of the story was used by Ridley Scott as the visual template for Blade Runner. Scott even duplicated some of the panels as shot in his magnificent film. That's pretty interesting. So not only was he responsible for Total Recall, Aliens, Return of the Living Dead, he did Dark Star, but he also helped. Rue, he wrote the script for that. That was his screenplay. He also helped create the look of Blade Runner, which everybody, regales for its, insane production design. That's really interesting. That was not the first time that Dan had changed filmmaking forever. After his work on Star Wars, Dan was hired by Alejandro Jodorowsky to head the special effects department for Jodorowsky's filming of Frank Herbert's Dune. This I know. It was Salvador Dali, Alejandro Jodorowsky, It was Dan O'Bannon. There was like the craziest lineup to make this Dune film before David Lynch had his crack at it. Here you go. The phenomenal cast slated for this epic sci-fi adventure included Orson Welles, David Carradine, Hervé Villechaize, that's Tattoo from Fantasy Island, Mick Jagger, and Salvador Dali. Right, the film score would have been composed by Pink Floyd, Magma, Henry Cow. It's incredible. And that's how Geiger came into the picture as well. So, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. There you go. There's that shot. Let's see what this is. Oh, I guess this entire ending thing. Okay. This entire ending thing is written by William Stout. That's what this is. That's why. And then it ends with William Stout signing the book. Sorry. That's why it seemed anonymous. And then here's a word from his wife, Diane O'Bannon. And there they are. And he passed away. If you're reading this, you are one of us, a fan of Dan O'Bannon and a fan of zombies fast or slow. We can quibble about the details, but each zombie flick has its virtues, and Christian Stellers and Gary Smart have done a great job getting down the gory details. I couldn't agree more. The cast of Dan's return has become, as unlikely as it seems, a great and fun family for me to turn to in his absence. What wonderful people zombies seem to attract. Count yourselves among them. I hope you enjoyed the book. So cool, man. And that's it, man. There it is. Dan O'Bannon was, to say at least, eccentric. That's the final thing right there. And then there is there's another version. What is this? We thought a lot of what we were doing was ridiculous, but all in good fun. The end. So there's a lot of there's a book. There's another version of this book that Rue, check out the documentary about Jodorowsky's Dune. It's insane. It's a great documentary. That's the closest thing we're ever going to get to that Dune film being made. It's amazing that he's still kicking and still making films. So that concludes our deep dive. I hope you enjoyed this content. I'm going to do more of this sort of stuff. I enjoyed doing it. I'm going to try and find a way to make it a little bit more interactive or a little bit more informational. I have a couple other pieces of Return of the Living Dead content that I want to explore. One that's coming imminently, and then the other thing we'll wait on. And then, as I said, I'm going to see if I can try and interview some people that were involved with the making of this film. They're very easily accessible, and it's just a matter of lining it up. So we'll see. I'll see if I can do that as well. Thank you so much for joining me for today's broadcast. If you like this content, again, I know, listen, not every broadcast is going to be gold. It's not going to be a golden gem, but like I said, it's all about the grind, baby. Just got to grind it out. Oh, huge shout out. Or maybe I should save it. I'll save the shout out for tomorrow. That's what I'll do. I'm not going to do it now at the end of a broadcast. Better to do it at the beginning. So if you like this content, again, please like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Let the commercials play. We'll see you next time, aka tomorrow. Peace and hair grease.